Yeah, and again, we like to see different things coming out from OMG. You're 0-3. The only way is up. You can't really make a mistake if you haven't taken a win. So right now, I like the fact that they tried something different. I want to see them maybe execute a little bit better on it, however. If we jump onto picks and bans for the second game of this best of 3, RNG opting towards the blue side. They are going to ban away the Pantheon, the Zoe, and the Twisted Fate. OMG ban away the Camille, the Akali, and the Olaf, with RNG opting to get Xiaohu onto this Renekton.
And I wonder if OMG are going to respect this Renekton pick and take away the Taliyah themselves. The Kai'Sa I think is fine. We talked about Eric, pretty good on Kai'Sa. I don't think the Kai'Sa early priority was an issue for the last game. Aki can either... I mean, Nidalee is available as well. You've got Taliyah that's available. These AP junglers do so well with a Renekton in the top lane. We'll see what they go with. Bear in mind, this Moonstaff build can make things even more potent. I'm actually going to go with a Galio here and wait and see what this jungle matchup looks like first, and wait and see where RNG go, and then play in response to that.
Yeah, I like this Galio pickup as well. You've got a lot of flexibility with it. You can put it in support, you can put it in mid. There's plenty you can do with that there. And RNG, they will not have the first pick out of the second round of bans. They are going to go put Wei back on the Nidalee. And Wei is someone we didn't talk about a lot, but didn't really want to talk about a lot on the last one because he didn't have a great game last time on the Nidalee. So he's looking for a bit of redemption.
Yeah, and Cryin can just... You could either blind pick a mid laner here, or you could go for an AD carry. Or you could go for Lucian, which could be either, technically. I would expect that to be mid, but it's very possible that goes bot. I will say against a Galio, you don't really want to play something like a Leona, though, which typically when you're playing Lucian, you're going to be a very aggressive bot lane. So the Galio might indicate that ends up going towards the mid lane. And now OMG as well. They will not want to run the Galio mid against a Lucian. They'll want to send that into the support, so now they can pick their mid laner. It looks like the Ori is just going to be the kind of default option right now.
And again, Orianna going for it. Obviously, Cryin had a fantastic time in that last game with it. We'll see now what Wuming can do in this one. Galio almost certainly going down to cold into that bot side. And I feel like the Lucian is definitely going to either Cryin or Xiaohu in the solo lanes because we don't really see the bot lane Lucians anymore. He just is a lot better as kind of almost like an AD caster rather than a flat out AD carry. So would prefer to see RNG get something more like the Jhin or the hell, even the Ezreal. I know we haven't seen a lot of it, but just like something like that to put him in the bot lane, just to give him that kind of extra team fight damage later on in the game.
The Kindred ban is a bit of a weird one. I guess they're just trying to remove like farming junglers. Obviously they have the Nidalee for themselves. I guess if you're going down that route, you could ban the Graves away from Aki. I think Kindred, if I'm not mistaken, is a pick that Aki was known for a little bit in the LPL, so perhaps it's more like a respect ban. They're going to take the Hecarim off the board as well, which Hecarim we have seen actually very little of in the LPL. There's been smatterings of it, but it's not been a popular pick at all. So I wonder if RNG know more than I do about Aki and his comfort picks, but definitely trying to focus that in that jungle match.
Yep, trying to get anything that can really snowball or, deal with Nidalee in a more aggressive way. The Kindred and Hecarim definitely two picks that can do that. Xayah and the Thresh banned away by OMG. They're trying to see if they can get a much easier bot lane for the Eric and Cold duo. And Lilia picked up here. I like this from the side of OMG, recognizing that they still can do a fast clear with someone like this. And actually, someone just before we go on to the rest of the picks, someone we haven't seen all day today is Graves. Graves has very much fallen down the pick priority for pretty much all the teams we've seen.
Yeah, he's not had a very good win rate either. A lot of people are starting to say that Graves is a bit of a bait pick and not really as strong of a jungler as he has been seen as for the last few months. I think he's fallen off in priority with the new items and whatnot. Do want to talk about this bot lane though. Gala and Ming can be very, very aggressive with the Samira and Alistar. Again, you are playing into this Galio, so Galio does fairly well at stopping these aggressive lanes. Can make it very difficult for Gala to ever get his ult off if Cold plays that well on the Galio and can save his CC. But ultimately, you're going to do a good job in pressuring on towards Eric on the Kai'Sa. And Bright is going to answer the Renekton top with a Jax of his own. So a little bit more scaling on the side of OMG this time around compared to what we saw last game. The opposite can be said for RNG. RNG this time around are the ones that need to put a bit of pace on this game and make things happen fast. It looks like Wuming is going to the top lane again. It looks like Wuming has been swapped with Bright entirely.
Yeah, it feels like OMG trying to do an RNG and just swap out their mid laner to top lane and vice versa. So curious to see how that will work out for them. And it's definitely one of those conversations of like you're putting a player who's in the same position. And just to give a bit of context, you know, Bright has been a mid laner pretty much exclusively for his entire career. Was on Oh My Dream. I think it was on Vici as well. So this makes sense, but obviously they're saying that it's far better for us to put Wuming into top than it is to have Bright in top.
I just wonder what happened to Nu, because Nu is on the roster. Nu is a top laner. I don't think Nu was the issue for OMG. I don't know if something happened to Nu. Maybe he can't play today, and this is just the best of a bad situation. But yeah, I feel like if this is a roster move that they've opted into, I disagree with it. I think that Nu is fine. He can play these facilitating top laners that you can just play things like the Ornn, play things like the Wukong. I have to assume that that's not the case. Looks like it might be Cryin going top against Wuming and Xiaohu going mid against Bright, I think is the way that this is going to go down. Could be Renekton mid against Orianna. Honestly, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, it looks like it is going to be Cryin mid on the Renekton against the Orianna. It'll be Lucian going top side against Wuming's Jax.
There is no longer top and mid lane. There is just solo lanes. I have decreed it as the LPL has decided. You play a solo lane, you can play in either of the two. That is the newest trend that we're seeing in the LPL. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to the Rift for Game 2 of this best of 3. With Wei playing a little bit aggressively forward, trying to see if he can catch a spear or two, make someone's life a little bit more annoying. And doesn't find any purchase with that, so he gets himself back out, trying to reset, see if he can get back out onto the map and decide where he wants to start off his jungle.
Yep, we'll see both junglers going towards the bot side by the looks of things to start this one off. Not too surprising, because that top lane can be pretty volatile. Wuming will have a hard time against the Lucian, at least temporarily, but, well, generally speaking, I give the favor to Lucian. It's a ranged top laner against a melee top laner. There are windows there, though. If Xiaohu misplays on the Lucian, there are all-in windows for Wuming to just take out the fight, get the stun with Counter-Strike, and find himself a kill. Lucian doesn't have a massive health bar to work with, so if Aki can get up there, maybe there's something they can do. Although I will say, realistically for Aki, that's not exactly on a massive ganking jungler. With the Dark Harvest, though, you do want to be fairly proactive in the lanes.
Yeah, and something we didn't actually kind of get to speak about that much was that Samira-Alistair combination. Samira, another one of those champions that's kind of seen as a little bit of a bait pick. Not the greatest of win ratios in the LPL, but we can see now at level 1, the exhaust has to come down, immediately cleansed by Gala, but he has to be so careful. One more auto attack from Eric would mean he is almost certainly going to fall cold. That was as cold as ice. That was clean from the man in the bot lane.
That was gorgeous. Completely outplays Gala. Reads the play beautifully. There was nothing Gala could do to escape at that point because of how Cold played it. I'm really hoping that they show a replay. Flashes preemptively so that his Justice Punch can be in the position to stop Gala's flash, to make the play before Gala even makes the play. So very, very nicely done. And a deserved kill here for the bot lane of OMG.
Yep, again, good early game start for the side of OMG, but now RNG want to get their own early game start. Xiaohu is here with his mid laner and jungler. The spear does not hit. They're running out of minions pretty quick. They're going to try and jump straight on top of him. The TP comes out. Oh no, it's disaster. It's disaster for RNG. They lose 2 summoners off that. 2 flashes they burned, and they gain nothing.
Everything is going wrong for RNG on every corner of the map. What a way to start the game for OMG, though. They read that this play is happening. They get Bright up there with the TP. Aki moves over as well. But Wuming managing to survive for so long with that Counter-Strike, then getting that kill down onto Cryin is such a crucial thing because Jax relies so heavily on items. Getting a kill early helps him so much to get into this game at all. Look at the CS that he's on right now. He's on 5 CS. That's because you don't get to play, basically, against Lucian in the early stages as Jax. So this is kind of brought him away into the game, and now he wants a 1v1.
He can 1v1. That counter-strike just stops everything that Xiaohu wants to do, and Xiaohu has forced to flash away. He will be healed, but just not enough to keep him alive. Wuming will still fall as Wei cleans up that one, but overall, still 2 kills on this Jax. Yes, he doesn't have the CS numbers, but if he's still getting gold, it's not going to be that bad for him.
The issue being, Xiaohu has TP, so even though they trade, hang on, dive in the bot lane.
Yeah, we're going to see action all day, every day. Great 2-man knock-up, though, from Ming. Does mean that Gala is able to keep everyone on OMG at arm's length. Look at how low these health bars are. Gala takes 1. He's going for the second. It's 2 kills. Double. And now Cold is on the wrong side. Triple kill for Gala. And it's all action all the time. This is the LPL.
Yeah, welcome to the LPL. And, well, RNG, they finally find an answer for all of this early game proactivity from OMG. Gala gets a triple kill in a 2v3. OMG botched the dive. And now you're in a lane against Alistair Samira, and Samira has 3 kills at 5 minutes. This is doomed for Eric and Cold. They don't get to play the game anymore. Once Gala has recalled, bought some items, he's going to have such a monumental... I honestly don't know how you respond to that. Cold is now roaming to the top side.
Xiaohu does get Counter-Strike down, but Cold with no flash has got exhaust. Wuming is... this is weird. It's like a 2v1, but a 1v1 at the exact same time. You can see Xiaohu's feeling a little bit frisky about it, but Bright is here to brighten up your day, Mr. Xiaohu. You will not land that piercing light, and you will fall to the Orianna. I can't even get excited about things anymore because I could be a bigger play just around the corner. But overall, it ends up equalizing the kill count. And Wei here just making sure he keeps everybody honest.
Bright may have overextended, though.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure he's going to die.
Yeah, he's dead. He's dead. No flash, no anything. Goodbye, Bright. You had a bright future ahead of you, and now you are in a gray screen. Oh, my lord.
Yeah.
This is a game. This is, in fact, a game.
That was very greedy from Bright. I don't know why he didn't expect anybody to come and answer that. But there you go. Bright, gonna go down on that one off the back of what was a really great play for a bit. I love that OMG are like, look, Wuming has an impossible matchup. Let's help the guy out, right? Let's just completely camp Xiaohu. The thing is, Wuming still only has 17 CS. He's still, even though he's got 2 kills, I'm pretty sure he's probably down on gold versus Xiaohu still, which is absolutely insane. Certainly, when it comes to XP, he'll be starting to fall behind because there are so many minions that keep dying to these towers. He's actually been sent to the mid lane as Cryin tries to make this dive happen.
Now trying to just jump down onto Bright, who is yet to hit level 6, so still waiting on that extra little bit of XP that will give him the shockwave, but knowing that the top lane is being bombarded by solo laners, it does give OMG the opportunity to take down the Mountain Drake, so they're going to get that one stacking for themselves nice and easily. Next Drake is going to be a Cloud, so they will have either an Ocean or an Infernal Soul later on in the game. We'll touch on that whenever it's relevant, but see what they want to do now on top of Cold, who has to use the Shield of Duran, and that is the Inferno trigger. Gala gets the flash out of Eric. Do they keep going? I don't think you can. Gala! This is a bit of an overextension there. Did not realize that if you auto-attack with the turret in range, it doesn't go to the AD carry, it goes to the turret. That is a bit unfortunate.
He used his Q in melee range of the turret. The Q melee vision, I'm pretty sure, can hit the turret. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They still got the 2v2 kill. That is exactly what I was talking about. You've got a Samira. She's really, really big. This is exactly what they're going to do over and over again. Expect RNG to consistently try and force that play. Bear in mind, Ming still has his flash available. Eric has no flash. So you can expect that as soon as that 2v2 is possible again, RNG are going to force it.
For RNG, you see Xiaohu actually picking up a call, realizes he is going to have free reign of this top side or whatever lane he decides to go to, and there's no real contention there. So just stacking that one up as quick as he possibly can. Rift Herald going to be started here by Wei, who 1-0-1 has been honestly relatively quiet considering how everything's gone so far. You can see a 4-1 Gala. You can see a 0-2 Lucian. There's plenty of action all across the board too. And as they say, you know, when people compare LPL to maybe other regions, I always say, are you not entertained? Is this not some of the most entertaining things you could possibly do? Because at least at the end of the day, it's not boring.
It's certainly not boring, that is for sure. One thing I will say is Aki has done a better job in this early game of maintaining his farm. He's about 20 CS up in that jungle matchup right now. Ooh, Xiaohu going to dash away. And again, what I was talking about before, very, very difficult lane for Jax. But if Xiaohu uses the E incorrectly, if his flash is on cooldown, if the counter-strike can land, Wuming can find advantages there. Aki's going to get spotted. We'll back away from the play in the end. But as I was saying, managing to find himself a CS lead, managing to do a very good job of maintaining his position as that farming jungler on the Lilia. And this will now be the Rift Tower drop for Xiaohu. Not surprising at all. You can see they're really investing in him. He's got his tier, he's got his cull. We're heading towards a Mana Moon first, and then, or maybe second, and we'll see what he goes after that. But plenty of options available for him. Wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Gale Force coming on through. As the tower will go down. I wasn't sure if they were actually going to be able to finish that one off because there was still a plate on it. It sometimes can be deceptively difficult to take down.
Yeah, a little tankier than you're anticipating, considering it does gain extra resistances with the more plates that it is missing. But, looking holistically at everything going down, that's pretty much exactly what RNG wanted. They now have a huge amount of gold on top of Xiaohu in this top side. Cryin is not doing badly in the mid lane, and bot lane is going very, very well for RNG. 4 kills on the Samira. She's feeling good, not really worried about anything, and as we've seen the Inferno trigger work, it can turn a fight around very quickly.
Yep, and when you look at the advantages on the side of OMG, the only real advantage on the scoreboard is the minor CS lead that Aki has for himself, but he's down a kill and an assist, so that doesn't matter. On the top side, obviously, Wuming did manage to get 2 kills, but this lane hasn't got much easier for him, so it's still a lot of work to be done there. And he doesn't have any damage to work with. So later on in the game, Wuming will become a threat. But as of right now, every single advantage sits in the pocket of RNG. This Drake that comes up in a minute, they should have basically for free. I'll be surprised if OMG contests this one at all. For OMG, they really want to chill for the time being. Because as we said before, when we looked at these compositions and how they should be playing, OMG, really, really great on the scaling, not so hot in the early game. Opposite to be said for RNG. With the Renekton, with the Samira as well, you really want to be fighting in the early stages of the game. And Lucian wins most lane matchups, so when they drafted that Lucian, you knew that they were drafting for winning lanes.
Oh, they're trying to go for a little bit of a dive here on the Xiaohu. They are going to use the hero's entrance and try to jump straight on top of him. Xiaohu will fall, but Cryin is here, exhausted immediately as Aki respects him and does get himself out with his flash. But with 4 people now on top side, can Cryin get himself out? They still have the Lilting Lullaby, and they are going to invest it straight away on top of Cryin, who flashes, but you cannot flash away from the shock wave. 2 kills, OMG. They knew, like you said, they did not have priority in the bot side, so they make a move in the top.
Yeah, they're going to trade this for a Dragon. Gala should be able to finish this tower off, or at least they'll finish it on the next wave that's coming on the way. Wei will be able to finish this Drake. They maybe even can snag a Gromp or so from the jungle, but maybe might be a little bit too late for that one. But yeah, RNG will answer in terms of gold. You can see that they're still way ahead gold-wise, but it's a really nice proactive play from OMG that they're playing on the opposite side of the map, that they're making things happen for themselves.
Yeah, Wei trying to make it a little bit more of a costly mistake. Cold has to be a bit careful as Gala is here. Aki cannot join in. He's forced to flash. The Ignite is ticking, but he should be fine. Need to be very careful. I feel like that was just an overextension from Cold. Didn't need to go that ham.
Yeah, I think he wanted to try and protect the blue buff, maybe the Gromp, but realized he couldn't. Ends up burning his flash off the back of that. Not the end of the world for him. He's got Hex Flash, and realistically, Galio, you want to be following up on the engage from someone else, which is one of the issues actually for OMG. Like when we're talking about the late game and scaling, We've mentioned how, yes, the carries scale well for OMG, but when you actually look at the team fight holistically, they don't have a fantastic way of a guaranteed start to the fight, right? You can try and get a flank with Wuming. Maybe Aki can find a swirl seed that hits multiple people, and then you can use a lilting lullaby. But Galio himself is not really an ideal engage tool. You'd much rather be the follow-up to someone else's engage and double down on that. So it might end up looking a little bit janky for OMG later on into this game, and I'm curious what their answer is to play around that. It might just be trying to find picks and trying to win through vision control in the jungle or something.
Yeah, I'm looking at Cold, like, who jumps in before Cold in these team fights? You're kind of relying on, Wuming and Wuming alone to create the space that will, enable this Galio to be able to use the hero's entrance to get on top of people, because otherwise it's just a defensive ultimate. It's not really going to give you much of a offensive engaged tool. But Wuming now finding himself into a lane against Cryin. Actually more favored towards the Jax, in my opinion, even with the Gore Drinker on the Renekton, is he has got that counter-strike, which stops a lot of what he wants to do in terms of auto attacks and his stun, so it's very difficult for the Renekton to really lock down this Jax, and with Aki in tow, it's very difficult for him to make anything happen.
Yeah, I don't really expect Wuming and Cryin to actually fight 1v1 realistically. We're beyond the point in the game where that's likely to happen. You expect this to be down to jungle intervention realistically in the matchup. And Wuming, let's bear in mind how far behind he was earlier on in the game. The fact he's got 100 CS now, 3-1-2 on the scoreboard. As he heads towards that Triforce, he's going to start existing. He's going to start being an actual threat that OMG can play around. So honestly, I'm pretty impressed by OMG this game. Has it been a perfect game for them? No. Are they behind? Yes. But they have made something happen in the early game. They've managed to cover a huge gaping weakness that came out of the draft reasonably well. Unfortunately for them, that weakness is not going to go away anytime soon. And RNG very much do have ways to force fights in the likes of this Alistair from Ming. He can just be that brute force engage, and then you've got Cryin that can find a TP flank. So it's definitely a lot simpler for RNG to find their win condition and just make things happen. But, OMG, I think, deserve at least a bit of credit for how they played around the top side.
Yeah, again, like you said, we're looking at a Wuming who will be the definition of a raid boss coming into these fights later on as it goes. And I feel like if you're RNG, you're looking to try and just catch mismatches like this, where you can catch out someone like Cold, maybe try and bring him down as quick as possible. Rift Herald did go down into the mid lane. Lilting Lullaby is used onto 2. Wuming is here with the counter-strike, and this is the engage. We talked about Shockwave, though. Misses onto everybody. Tower in the mid lane falls. Cryin goes in, but he has nowhere to go. The Gore Drinker can only keep him alive for so long. They will get another charge with the Rift Herald, but overall, 2 kills in favor of a mid lane turret. It's a hard one to cut.
Yeah, I will say, Gore Drinker, if nothing else, is an entertaining item. Cryin was dead to rights. He was so unbelievably dead in that fight. Then he Qs and hits Gore Drinker. He's like 3/4 of his HP again. Still ended up going down, but honestly, that I get endless entertainment out of watching health bars just miraculously. It's like having a Soroka in your item inventory. Let's take another look at the fight, because this was RNG trying to force the fight. Cold, not really the best target to be going on, does have the aftershock, so it's difficult to force the engage. And then with the sleep, that is the perfect setup for Wuming to get the flank that we talked about. Moved up from the bottom side, very nicely done. Cryin tries to re-engage this fight. I think he was anticipating more from the rest of his team there, but honestly, I don't think that was a fight that RNG wanted from that point on. Nicely done by OMG to find an opportunity there. In the meantime, though, as they grab themselves a tower on this top side, it is going to trade for a tier 2 in the mid lane and the dragon that Wei is already working his way through. So, still, all things considered, these are net positives for RNG. RNG still very much in control of this game, and OMG want to change that as they're grouping up on the top side.
Yeah, Cryin had to tentatively approach this wave, as he did see about 3 people waiting for him in the blue buff. But while that's happening, Xiaohu has a blue buff of his own, and they are pushing towards this bot side. Wuming, 4v1. I wouldn't put it against them. This Jax is looking pretty big.
Yeah, importantly, drops a little dance as well. Wuming, he knows what's going on. There was no minion wave, so they can't actually force the dive. They only had one caster minion, so Wuming's fine. And as you rightly say, he's on Jax. He's got a Triforce. He's got a Phage. Like, that Counter-Strike is a damn good ability. I don't know if you really want to be trying that on too much, because if it does go south, Jax is the worst player to be given all that gold to. Like, it gets so scary when Jax is fed. He's now got a bounty. Like, Wuming is well and truly a monster in this game. Off the back of how this game started, that is so impressive from Wuming's side and from how OMG have played around Wuming.
Yep, it's very much a testament to how well OMG have worked, you know, to make this happen for them, to make sure that their Jax, which was counterpicked into, or got the counterpick into the Lucian, they felt comfortable with it, and they executed on it. This Lucian hasn't really done much for Xiaohu or the side of RNG. Yes, it will melt turrets and objectives. That's the kind of, you know, the benefit of going double AD carry in your composition, but if you're not able to make it work and the Jax get on top of multiple people setting up that Galio or Hero's entrance, that becomes very, very scary for RNG.
I will say, in favor of Xiaohu right now, he's finally just finished that Kraken Slayer. His Mana Moon is getting close to finish stacking as well. He is going to start to become a bit of a monster. Expect the Lucian damage to be kind of off the charts. The procs from Kraken Slayer, you can get multiple procs in a fight very fast because of the Light Slinger passive that Lucian has, so do expect that this is a pick that not only can bully lane, but because of the way that Lucian builds these days, it's not just an early game lethality carry. This is a crit 80 carry. He will scale well. He'll go for a rapid fire cannon later on so that he has reasonable range in the fights as well. Definitely, even though he's died 3 times, do not count Xiaohu out of this game just yet, because Lucian's he's only just getting good right now.
Yeah, only picking up the real items that he needs. Of course, Xiaohu did go with the teleport as a summoner spell, so without a cleanse, he has opted to go for a QSS. And mythics and second items being finished up pretty much across the board for the side of RNG and OMG. This Baron dance can begin.
Yeah, realistically, I don't know if RNG can just brute force this. They do have Ming
take it very
force
quickly.
Fight. Yeah, they do have the Samira with Collector. I think the Lucian is the key factor because you can send Cryin down to the bot side. This is the nice thing about having 2 top laners, right? You can
2 mid laners.
Which one? Yeah, 2 mid laners, 2 top laners, whichever way you want to look at it. It's certainly in terms of the champions, 2 top laners, but you can just send Cryin down to this bot side and have Lucian for the fight.
Oh, good respect there from Cole. Flashes immediately. Decent damage, though. The culling. Eric has to take up half his HP bar just to save his support. That could be the go sign for this Baron. Like I said, you've double AD carry and a plenty of poke. You can just melt this objective down.
Yep, the Kraken Slayer really comes into its own in these situations. Bear in mind as well, Xiaohu now has stacked that Mana Moon that we talked about earlier. He's also got a QSS, so if anyone like the Galio or the Jax does manage to get onto him, or a Lilting Lullaby hits, he's still going to be slippery, still going to be able to escape. We know, like, of all of the criticisms you can have for Xiaohu, mechanics are not among them. Like, his mechanics are pretty much immaculate. I expect him to be able to weave his way around these fights on the solution. I think sorry, I'm just gonna jump in here because 40 seconds until this Ocean Drake comes up, and with how strong Xiaohu is right now, he's just picked up boots as well on top of everything else. You've also just hit 3 items on Gala. The Infinity Edge is finished, the Collector is finished. This is pretty much as strong as this RNG squad is going to get. Same for Cryin with the Sterix Gauge coming in. These are massive spikes across the board for RNG.
This is a bit of a shooting range for both sides. You're going to see Aki throwing in those swirl seeds as well as the spears chucked in left, right, and center from Wei. The dragon initially has spawned, but it is OMG who have the priority. You can see mid lane being pushed out now by RNG. Dragon has been started up. Now they know that it's going on. Eric Trying to drag it out as best he can. Great shockwave to start this one off, but that's not going to be enough to be able to kill off anyone on RNG. Now, OMG, they secure the dragon. Can they get anything else? There's a lilting lullaby onto 2. Doesn't really get anyone. This is such a close fight. The Sterix gauge has been popped by Cryin. Everyone just trying to keep themselves alive. No one wants to go down, and they do not want to give up an inch. Dragon to OMG, and that will be the end of it.
Very nicely done by OMG here. The reason that this composition can thrive is that even though they don't have that much hard engage for themselves, it doesn't matter too much because RNG have to be the ones engaging into them. Wuming, though, with the Counter-Strike, is going to be fine. So they back away. I don't think RNG can actually just start this immediately. They need to be cautious because OMG are in a position to contest. But yeah, if OMG can set up on the objective first, like we saw with this Drake, RNG have to go into them. That's where Galio shines. The counter engage is so beautiful. As soon as Ming tries to force the fight, immediately Cold just drops the ulti down onto whoever he's gone onto. Ming immediately has to retreat. The rest of the squad from RNG retreats as well. And then at that point, you can either finish off the Drake, maybe you can find something of a fight from the back of it. Depends how things go off. But RNG on this one decide to just back away and let the Drake go. So it's 2 Drakes apiece now.
Drakes apiece, but it is a 4,000 gold lead for RNG. And you can see they're just getting rid of as many wards as they possibly can right now. And again, we're seeing how close these fights can be. But when everyone goes and resets, talked about how quick this will be taken. This is just a bad call from OMG. They just left the objective wide open.
It's exactly what you said before, Penguin. This team shreds it with the Kraken Slayer on Lucian. They will annihilate this Baron. It's already taken. OMG are late to the fight. I don't even think they can force a fight off the back of it.
Nope, teleports too late as well, and that is the power of a double AD carry composition. You can just melt those kind of objectives, and yes, it's risky because if you force a fight around it, you've already taken a huge amount of poke, but there's just not really a lot you can do if you're just not set up. Big unforced error from OMG, and it lets RNG dictate the pace again in this game.
Yep, really nicely done by OMG. Really great punish from them. OMG resetting, not respecting the fact that this Baron could happen. And now when you look at the gold difference, 6,000 in favor of RNG, it's starting to get to the point where now it's like, okay, it's not just about compositions. It's more about where we are on the map right now, where that gold sits. Samira is massive. Xiaohu as well is massive. He's 60, 50 CS up in the top side. And they're not going to fall off of a cliff, right? They definitely don't have the as strong of carries later on in the game when you've got things like the Jax and the Orianna in the game. There's a bit of a 1v1 going on. Wuming is quite happy to take this. They don't scale as well as the enemy carries, but it's still like a crit 80 carry in Samira. Sure, she's really strong in the early game, but she's not terrible in the late game. It's not like she's not going to do damage. And the same for the Renekton. Because of this build, you can still be a nuisance. You can still function as a front line, so it doesn't matter that you can't just one-shot people.
There is a TP for Cryin, but there is no TP for Wuming, so you can see right now he has to go back. They've lost themselves a tier 2 in that bot side. 6,000 gold is the current advantage to RNG. They're going to keep pushing in, but I feel like the longer this goes on, I feel like Wuming's going to get big and bigger and bigger, and he's just going to become very, very difficult to deal with. I feel like RNG, they're the ones on the timer because their front line's just not really doesn't really exist in a late game team fight.
And again, I want to reiterate that you're absolutely correct. OMG on paper do scale better than RNG. The question is, how long can they hold on for? Because as of right now, the goal difference means that scaling doesn't really matter until we get to the point where we're on essentially even items anyway. That's when the scaling will really come into its own. So OMG, to have that scaling argument, have to hold on for quite a long time at this point in the game. And RNG, still with 30 seconds on the Baron, probably can't get much off the back of it, but at least can set up vision around this dragon that's coming up. Cryin should be able to walk away from this one, although he doesn't have a tower, actually.
They are hard aggressing onto this. I don't think they think he's still there. I think they're just trying to see if they could have catched him out. I don't actually believe they know exactly where he is. So right now, Cryin. Oh no. Ships in the night. Ships in the night. They're not going to go for it. They're going to wait for Jax. They're waiting for Jax. Cryin has no... Oh, there he is. Okay, now he knows, but They didn't feel like they had enough damage to 100% commit to that right there, so they have to back away. Dragon up in 5 seconds, but while this is happening, RNG are pushing up mid lane. That is a very alone Eric. They can't really do this.
RNG aren't just going to ignore this. Like, you can't just sit in the bush and not do anything. Like, that was the opportunity. Even if they didn't have the damage, they needed to try and pull the trigger, try and just run Wuming down and make this happen. RNG, in the meantime, take complete control of the bot half of the map, and it means that they can now get Soul Point with no contest available from OMG whatsoever. It doesn't matter that RNG aren't able to take an inhib off the back of this, because this dragon alone is enough reward. And now if they can set up for the next Drake on top of that, Ocean Soul, that removes any conversation of scaling or who has the better late game carries.
Yeah, the extra healing for using your auto attacks is insane the later the game goes on. And Xiaohu, seeing if Bright will venture a little bit too far forward, he now realizes that he probably won't and just uses that opportunity to keep himself and this wave nicely topped up. Now, looking down towards the items, you can see 3.5 items for Xiaohu, 2.5 for the middle of Wei. They're starting to get up there, but on the other side, it is also a pretty decent look as well. Like Eric, 3.5 items. You've only got 2.5 onto Orianna, but she will scale eventually and have that extra little bit of damage very, very soon. I think we're going towards critical mass. I think we're going to see a big, big team fight potentially around this Baron.
Yep, the Baron coming up in 1 minute and 20 seconds. Once again, I want to reiterate how this OMG composition works. It's best when you are counter-engaging. They don't have any massive primary engage. So the fact that RNG are here first, you can see it's 1 minute on this Baron, and you see the jungle and support duo of Wei and Ming moving into the red quadrant of OMG's jungle, setting up this very deep vision, clearing away as many wards as possible, so it makes it that much more difficult for OMG to make it in. When you look through this composition from OMG, who's the person that face checks into this dark, dark jungle? It has to be Cold, but Cold is not tanky. Cold does not have enough defensive stats to realistically do much. You can see him here with the sweeper. He's trying to gain some kind of vision control, but they don't know where anyone is on the side of RNG right now.
And Munch, if you told me after the start that we had to this game that we would go almost, I would say, over 10 minutes without a kill, I would have called you a liar. This has been so night and day comparatively to what we had at the first 5-6 minutes of this game, which was just constant fights all the time. And now we're looking at it from a point of view of, again, we have not seen a kill in about 10 or more minutes. This is a very strange way this game has just kind of ended up. But 3 items of both 80 carries, you could again burst this down. OMG, they've dropped the ball once again.
And like we said, there's really no way for them to make it into this jungle and contest. There's no one that can face check this. They have 1 ward behind the situation, so they will spot that it's happening. And now TP comes in.
TP is there. They're going to drop Aki back away from it. So that is the Baron over to RNG. They're going to use the Hero's Entrance as well, but it locks up absolutely nobody. Now Cold's caught between a rock and a hard place. Needs to be so careful. They're not able to get the lilting lullaby onto many people. 2-man Shockwave is big onto Wei. Cold tries to continue, but you cannot flash in with the Ruthless Predator. And that is everything for RNG. They get 4 kills. They get Baron. They lose nothing. And they're going to barrel up the mid lane.
Beautifully set up here by RNG, and this should be the game in the bag. They've got 30 seconds, 40 seconds on some of these death timers. They've got Baron, they've got a minion wave. Bright is alone to try and defend this.
Bright is alone with no flash and no shock wave. We can see Xiaohu just going back, picking up an item, probably going to TP back into the base as well. And that is all she wrote for this game. RNG, they get the 2-0, but the result does definitely not tell the story of this series. They had to fight for it. They had to dig deep in that in this second game, but they made it work, and OMG